This week on Deadful Sunday, we'll be applying Kierkegaard's conception of anxiety to, of course, coronavirus. In particular, the news, as reported in The Guardian, that a study has shown that the, quote, Oxford COVID jab has less protection against the South African variant, end quote. By applying Kierkegaard to the latest event in the seemingly never-ending chaos that is COVID-19, we might better understand why such matters trigger a feeling of anxiety in us at all. This week, The Guardian reported that, quote, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine will not stop people becoming ill if they contract the South African variant of COVID-19, researchers have confirmed, warning that vaccines' focus needs to shift from population immunity to protecting individuals from hospitalization and death, end quote. Despite being heralded as the silver bullet to ending the pandemic, it appears as though the inaction of this and other governments is taking its toll on the coronavirus response. However, this is not to say that the vaccine isn't essential, nor that it shouldn't be taken by all eligible persons. Furthermore, The Guardian added that, quote, all the manufacturers are now looking at creating new vaccines to better target the South African variant, end quote. Depending on the translation, anxiety is substituted for dread. Kierkegaard, in his work The Concept of Dread, states that, quote, dread is the reality of freedom as possibility anterior to possibility, end quote, meaning that one feels dread over the possible choices one is free to choose from, and that these possibilities must exist prior to their positing. In short, the choice, for example, of whether or not one will move halfway around the world for that job must exist prior to the opportunity to choose has even presented itself. Anxiety is then directly related to the possible, the future for Kierkegaard. Indeed, even things that already have happened must have a future element to them to induce a feeling of anxiety. He notes that, quote, the past of which I am supposed to be in dread must stand in a relation of possibility to me. If I am in dread of a past misfortune, this is not so far as it is past, but in so far as it may be repeated, i.e. become future, end quote. Thus, feeling anxiety over what has happened is only possible insofar as it's going to happen again. Kierkegaard then poses dread or anxiety, again depending on the translation, as the feeling that is most directly related to the possible consequences to possible or actual actions. The solution for Kierkegaard is resignation. He gives resignation a religious edge, but I'll set that aside and speak of the solution more generally. He says we should recognise, quote, that every dread which alarms, angster, may the next instant become a fact, end quote. We should, therefore, give up fretting about what might happen and accept that it just might happen. The fact is, there's no point worrying about things not within our own power to control, because whether or not you worry or not, it won't make very much difference to the thing we're worrying over. Why not worry and save yourself the distress and ease into the resigned feeling that anxiety-inducing matters are beyond our control? Kierkegaard advocates for one to, quote, turn inwardly and lay hold of no external task, end quote. Thus become concerned only with that which you can account for, which in his Christian eyes is your relationship with God. But broadly speaking, one could say only those things that exist in your remit of power and responsibility is what you should concern yourself with. Don't worry then about the tomorrow that you can do nothing about today. Don't worry, this marks the end of the 18th episode of Deadful Sundays. We hope you enjoyed it and that we'll see you next week.